Well, first of all, the decision was based on the Administrative Procedure Act, an arbitrary and capricious act by this agency, an unlawful act. And so too is the indictment. It's baseless. It's nothing more than retribution. Retribution for basically doing my job. For doing my job following a 2-year investigation in a congressional hearing. It wasn't political. It was based on facts and the application of the evidence. And the judgment was sustained. The amount of the disgorgement was what was dismissed. But the judgment remains. And so at this point in time, we will vigorously defend those charges, those baseless charges. My arraignment, as you know, is next Friday. I visit Norfolk quite frequently. My family is in Norfolk. I love my family. And I will defend these charges. And I want everyone to know that it is completely baseless and I am totally innocent. Thank you.
Okay, here's the thing. I mean, there's like multiple charges, okay? I'm going to get you to the mortgage document that she signed saying that she was just applying for a secondary home loan, which then later in another document it turns out to be an income property. And then, of course, don't forget, this is the woman that keeps wanting you to think that she's so darn innocent. She couldn't have done anything wrong. I mean, remember when she went on an MSNBC podcast? You know, that's her favorite territory, and said, this, I promise you, 100% will not result in an indictment. Well, guess what, Tishy, we got news for you. You're indicted. You're facing up to 60 years in the slammer.
To these baseless allegations at the appropriate time and in the appropriate way. But I am 100% confident that it will not result in any criminal indictment or action.
Oh, really? Okay, because I'm 100%. And I mean 100% confident. It just did. Yeah, you've been criminally indicted in the Eastern District of Virginia for lying on your bank records for alleged mortgage fraud, honey pie.
Against me, and that it is nothing more than a revenge tour, and that Donald Trump just ultimately got to the J's, and I was next.
The key allegation, again, it sounds like you don't want to address them here, but I'm just going to put it out so people understand that a property that was owned in Virginia, and a mortgage that you signed, if I'm not mistaken, for that property, that they say you falsely represented yourself as a resident of Virginia, and that was essentially amounts to mortgage fraud since you're a resident of New York. What is your response to that?
It's baseless. Everybody knows I'm a resident of New York, specifically Brooklyn. And again, we will respond at the appropriate time in the appropriate way to these baseless allegations. And some media outlets like the Daily News over the weekend has indicated as much.
Okay, so you say it's baseless.
That's all you want to
say. And that's what, so Chris Hayes is like, so that's all you want to say? And she says, yeah. So she's since come forward and said this is just a clerical error. Her power of attorney screwed up. I'm sorry. Like, you're an attorney. You're the attorney general of the state of New York. We shouldn't be having screw ups from your power of attorney. But here's the thing. It's not just once, but twice. Oh, and then there was that third time. Well, actually a fourth time, because we can go back 25 years. Don't believe me. We're going to the time that she signed on with Daddy Poo, right? Daddy is now suddenly her husband so that she can get a mortgage back then. I mean, we're seeing a little bit of a track record. All right? A real track record. So she did all that she did, think about it, against Donald Trump, all while simultaneously knowing that she had signed on for this second mortgage. And here's the rider, the second home rider. This was back in August 2020, okay? So they basically had her promise that she was going to live in the home, that this wasn't going to be some kind of rental unit. And yet on another financial disclosure, she called it a rental unit. So which is it? I mean, really, you got a better mortgage rate, you see. You got a much better mortgage rate as a result of this because it gives you a better mortgage rate. That's how the system works, right? I mean, if you think about how it gets stacked, you can stack the deck with the lowest mortgage rate would go for your primary home. And then what happens? Well, when you have a vacation home, you're going to pay a little bit more. And then when you have an income property, you're going to pay the most. So it turns out, according to the Daily Mail, she saved 0.8%, which translated to $17,000 in change, along with some kind of payout around $3,000 at the time. So, that's pocketing $20,000 in her bank account instead of the mortgage lenders. Amazing, right? Amazing, amazing, amazing stuff. And yet she thinks that Trump is weaponizing the government against her. Isn't she the one that told us, hey, people can't get away with this kind of stuff? I do recall that. Let me see if I have it somewhere. Remember when she tweeted out, she said, nobody is above the law, that you absolutely cannot get away with this because it actually hurts everyday folks. Well, Letitia, you yourself were hurting everyday folks. That's pretty apparent. But, you got to look out for your nieces who are in all kinds of trouble with the law. I'm just saying, I know you can't pick your family. But you might want to offer a little guidance for your family. You might not want to be housing people that are running from the law that are supposed to be meeting with their parole officers. Right? I mean, you can't make it up. So yeah, Donald Trump is pretty mad. He thinks the whole thing was weaponized against him, and he's right.
I watch the fake news, and he's weaponized. And he wants to send them to prison. He wants all this. They indicted me like 5 times. I took a mugshot. Who would have thought it turned out to my favor? Because it was a good shot. But I had to take a mugshot. It's right out there on the door. New York Post, front page of every paper in the world. I had a mugshot. They wanted to send me. Nobody says that. They say, he's acting very, very tough. He's acting unfair. Let me tell you, if anything, I think this Justice Department has been so respectful of the law, because the other Justice Department, with Rita or Lisa and all of that scum, real scum, what they did to the political opponent of a guy that has a seriously low IQ. Now, in his case, it was low based on his career, but it got real low, okay? It was descending rapidly. But what they did to go after his political opponent is legendary, worse than any third world country, banana republic. And what we're doing is nothing. Are you kidding? Nothing. They write stories. Why aren't they doing this? And there's never been anybody treated in the history of politics. They say the 2 worst treated presidents by the media, etc., was that man right there, the late, great Abraham Lincoln, and this guy right there, Andrew Jackson. They say Andrew Jackson was treated terribly. They give him number 1 and number 2, but that was before I came along, Newt. I say I have number 1 times 10.
Right. He is number 1 times 10, maybe times 100. But you know what? Justice is happening. It's happening. And you think back on what we've all been through. I told Eric Trump yesterday, he was talking about this scandal and everything that his dad was hit with. He now has the number 1 book out, by the way, called Under Siege. And we were talking about this. And it was amazing to me. First of all, his family stayed together through all of it, right? I mean, there were really, really trying times and difficult times. And they went through hell. I mean, really and truly. And I was like, was there ever a time when you were like, hey, Dad, maybe we shouldn't be doing this? And he said, I sure, but my dad was a rock. And my dad said to me, we're going to get through this. And he said, okay, Dad, well, we're going to get through it and we're going to be right, or we're going to wind up in jail for the rest of our lives. And he's like, well, we are right, and they are wrong, and this is not fair, and they can't weaponize it. And they can't. I mean, this is what this woman, remember Letitia James, before she was ever Attorney General of the state of New York, she was out campaigning saying she was going to get Trump every day. I mean, I think she swore when she said it too. We had to bleep that out. I want to go to this as well as Byron Donald's reaction to her, which is priceless.
I look forward to going into the office of Attorney General every day, suing him, defending your rights, and then going home.
Wow.
Congressman Donald,
I mean, for goodness sakes, She just said it. Like, she didn't know anything. She was just going to go out there and sue him and sue him and sue him and sue him, and then she was going to go home. That was going to be her entire job. Forget about actually running the state of New York. Forget about actually going after real criminals. Forget about, and we did this story. Go back and look at the shows, because I did a whole podcast on this. Forget about any of the money laundering that may have gone on, where they were getting basically the Chinese and the Iranians to launder money through New York, and she just looked away. You got to wonder about that. Now that's a story. Okay, that's a story, because I think they could dig in harder to that one too, because I'd like to know if there were any kickbacks in any of that. Just saying, I'm not alleging anything. I just want to know how that amount of money could have been laundered through New York, going to suspicious places. We did a whole show on it. But anyway, let's go to my friend Byron.
This is nothing to see here. It's just retribution, but that sounds like retribution.
100%. Her entire campaign for Attorney General of New York was to go after one man, and that one man was Donald Trump. She was letting real criminals go. She was letting them go scot-free in New York.
Exactly.
But she ran just to go after President Trump, and it's wrong. It's a misuse of power, abuse of power. And now we find out that she was not on the up and up with her personal documents, and now she wants to feign outrage. Well, look, this is very simple. If you live in a glass house, don't throw stones. It's real simple. But unfortunately, Letitia James, she's indicted because it appears that, yes, she was defrauding mortgage companies to get a favorable down payment and a favorable interest rate, and she thought nobody was going to check.
Yeah. Think of the ego that you must have to think that you're somehow above the law, that nobody's going to check, that you can be, by the way, harboring your fugitive niece there in one, and you get another one with all kinds of problems with the law in the other. I mean, nobody's going to find that out. I mean, what a egomaniac. She's not a very bright woman now, is she? Because she wouldn't have signed on to this mortgage document on top of the other one, which was just a clerical error. I'm sure she'll tell us this is clerical too. You know, we're not buying that. And I think this woman has a track record. I mean, we can go all the way back to the late 80s and we're going to find problems, as we have. Watch.
James tried to prosecute the now President Trump in his second term. I just want to read a couple things. Criminal referral, then a response from James's office here in New York. James, for both properties listed above, this deals with real estate now, going back decades really, appears to have falsified records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms, all right? Her office responded by saying the AG James is focused every single day on protecting New Yorkers. Specialist administration weaponizes the federal government against the rule of law and the Constitution. She will not be intimidated by bullies, no matter who they are. The issue here is what property she owned and whether or not she owned it, whether or not she was married, and whether or not her father was involved in all this. Without going into the weeds of the details, this stems from a case in 1983 and the year 2000. That's a minimum of 25 years. Someone had to do some digging to find this. Am I right about that?
Yeah. Bill, the most I know about the case, I just learned from you. I saw it on breaking news this morning. This case was sent to us from Bill Pulte. We have not seen it. I inquired right before I walked out here. No one in my office has read it yet. We haven't looked at it. Of course, we'll be reviewing it. You just told me more than I've heard about it so far.
Hey, we aim to please with some breaking news of our own. Indeed. All right. Attorney General.
Well, you know what? She has learned about it now. That was from a couple months ago when this first news came out. So you think about, let's just add them up. Okay, guys, you got the mortgage document on the secondary home that it turns out, according to other documents, was not a secondary home, but an income property. Okay, that's actually fraud because you have to promise to live there a certain amount of time. You got the primary residence, which also apparently is fraud. Because in the primary residence, you should be living there full time. And obviously you can't be living there full time if you're the Attorney General of the state of New York, right? Just saying. And then you think about the 25 years ago signing on to dad's mortgage as his wife. What was that about? Oh, she probably wanted to prove that he had some kind of steady income. And she had just graduated from school and thus maybe felt that she had the steady income that would be relevant for him in his mortgage documentation. And I don't know, hey, you can go all in the, hey, DEI, I deserve it, right? I should be able to do this because other people do this. So therefore, I should be able to get my own mortgage and do this, that, and the other. Well, here's the news for you. Other people don't do it. I mean, unless you're Adam Schiff. Okay, other people don't do it.